RJG is a global supplier of sensors and software to the injection molding industry. Would all the injection molders in the room please raise their hand? Okay, so good. Well, I'm not here to sell anything this evening. As Russ mentioned, I'm here to talk about a book that we came across. We were introduced to about 3 years ago as we were looking at for a better way to develop new products. The problem we were running into is that we were using a fairly traditional design process where we had an idea that we thought was a great idea, and we'd spend anywhere from 6 months to 2 years developing this product and going through testing and developing documentation, and we release it to the field, and sometimes it's a great success, but too many times it wasn't. And we wanted to make sure that we were spending our development time and money wisely. So the core of the book, The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, takes lean manufacturing principles and it ties it to the product development process. So the core of lean thinking is that we're trying to identify that which adds value, and we're trying to minimize waste. And so the lean in Lean Startup is that any product we build and we don't sell is waste. And how can we find out what adds value to the customer, what they will buy, before we ever spend any time building it? So the core of this concept is something called the minimum viable product. And it's the question is first we have to identify what's the critical assumption that we have to test. What's critical to making this product successful, and develop the smallest experiment to learn whether that assumption is true or not, and really to determine whether we should build it, because we can build anything. The question is, should we build it? Should we spend time and money on this? So I'd like to show an example of that's presented in the book, and it's a great. I'm going to show a little video clip from Bill Gross, who in 1998 had this concept of selling cars on the internet. And this is a point in time where the internet is in its infancy, and people told them, people are going to want to test drive it. They're not going to buy a car sight unseen off the internet. And so he went out to prove it by building a very simple, very minimal website to test the concept of, will people buy a car online? And here's Bill talking about the experience.
I met with him. He was showing me how he was building the configurator so people could use the drop downs to choose the options they wanted on the car. And I said, don't even do that. Again, I didn't know the term Wizard of Oz MVP, but I said, just put a field in where someone can type in the car they want. Someone will be sitting behind the curtain, taking that and going down to the Monrovia Auto Mall and just buying the car. We're going to lose money on each car, if anybody even wants one, and we'll deliver it to their house. So don't even worry about an illegal configuration. We'll call the person on the phone if that's actually a problem. We just want to see if someone will put $1,000 on their credit card in. We don't even need to run their credit card. We just need to see, a little bit like the Social Security number experiment, just will they put it in? We don't even have the method to accept credit cards yet, because we're a merchant account. So I convinced them, just put the site live. We're at day 80 of our 90-day test, just put the site live. And I remember it was a Thursday night, I came back on Friday morning, and I said, well, how did it work? Did anything happen? We didn't have Google Analytics, Google didn't exist. We didn't have any analytics to actually watch what happened. I just said, what happened? He said, we sold 4 cars last night. I said, how do you have to turn the site off?
So the concept here that they were trying to test was, will people buy a product sight unseen? And within 90 days and a very minimal amount of money spent, they were able to validate that, yes, they could do that. That was the first experiment. And then with small continuing experiments, they built this out. This is the Cars Direct website today. They do over $1 billion worth of business. That all started with this one very simple experiment. So, but it's not just for software. This came from the software, and it's very aligned with agile development methodology. This is a photo of what happens when you take, it's about roughly, 16 of our sensors, and try and stick them on the side of a mold, and it's a mess. And we wanted to find a better way to create a connector system that to clean up this pile. So Our first minimum viable product was actually just a sketch on paper that within a couple days we sent out to customers, and they told us all the reasons that it wouldn't work. And we went back, and good thing we didn't build that one. This is by the time we got to paper prototype number 3, we had a concept that customers said, okay, you're heading in the right direction. So we moved on to a higher fidelity prototype. This is the TinSnip prototype that took an afternoon to build, and we sent this out to customers, and they were able to hold it in their hands and place the connector and tell us that what worked and what didn't. And that moved on to a non-functional prototype, but something that's closer, higher resolution each time testing critical assumptions. What we learned on this one was that it was too big, so we worked to get the size smaller, and ended up with the help of a 3D printer, wonderful prototyping technology. We were eventually able to get to version 18. The customers said, yes, we'll buy this. And we launched that product here after a whole lot of, it was only after that point that we actually did about a year's worth of development to actually make the physical product that would work. And released that here about 4 months ago. We had set revenue targets for this, and so now we're able to measure to make sure we're actually meeting the customer needs that we set out to. So far we're on track for that, which we're really excited to see. And that's we're also utilizing it in our, of course, in our software development. This was our first experience with lean startup techniques. We've hired a consultant, Moves the Needle, who is helping us to implement this further. So the book is The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. We have some links to the video and to the consultant group that we're working with.
Did you do research before you did any, even before the sketch? Had you actively, for this project, gone to your existing market and said, what do you guys need? How did you know to even go down this road?
Yeah, that's a great question. Initially, for this particular project, we were relying on our interaction with our customers. However, what we learned through Moves the Needle is a process they call customer empathy, where we're going out into customers' environments and observing and talking to and listening, just identifying pain points. What's difficult in your day, in your life as a molder? Sometimes it's not even related to, and what we learned is that customers they're having a heck of a hard time hiring talent. And so our user interface for our software is too difficult for them to use. So we need to simplify it. And that was one of our team members who was involved in this project was just stunned when he learned how little of our current product is actually used today because of all the complexity that's been built into it. It was a huge learning point, and we're fundamentally changing the direction of our product development for our software based on that. Great question. Thank you.
Any other questions?
How did you go about identifying partners that you trusted to work with these products? You said you've got a couple of them. I mean, how did you, what's your process of choosing that you feel comfortable sharing this with?
Sure, yeah. And so there's a couple critical decisions up front. First of all, are you going to work with current customers, or are you going to work with non-customers? And initially, we would work more with current customers, our close partner customers, because they're the easiest ones to work with. However, as we're getting into, we want to branch into new market segments, and it becomes more difficult to find some of those folks. So we go into our database and we find a customer who's only bought one product. And there's a lot of experimental techniques. So there's some simple email blast techniques. We're going to email out with a header. Do you have this problem? If so, click on this link, and it goes to a landing page. And we're able to identify how many people go to that link, and if you're interested, it give us your name and your contact information. We find out, first of all, is there anyone actually interested, has this problem? And we've identified some contacts. Now we can start talking to those customers, getting more information from them, and starting to find out who's passionate enough about this product to work with us as a development partner. And through the experimentation process, we just keep getting deeper and deeper into more and more depth and granularity in your experimentation. Great question.